Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to crochet this really cute swinging duck. You will need parfait chunky in yellow and orange, and then you'll also need brown for the swing, but you can use whatever colors you prefer. You will also need scissors, a 4.5mm crochet hook, a yarn needle, 10mm safety eyes, stuffing, and a stitch marker. In your main color, start off with a slip knot. If you prefer, you can do a regular magic ring, but I usually use the chain 2 method with this yarn. It just is easier to work with chenille or blanket yarn. In the second chain from the hook, or if you're using a magic ring, you're going to do 6 single crochets for the first round. For round 2, you're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch for a total of 6 increases. This will give you a total of 12 single crochet. For round 3, you're going to do 1 single crochet and then an increase, and you're going to repeat that around 6 times for a total of 6 increases, which will give you 18 single crochets. For round 4, you're going to do 2 single crochet and then an increase, and repeat this around 6 times to increase 6 stitches, which will give you 24 single crochet. For rounds 5 through 10, you're just going to do single crochets all the way around. I put a stitch marker in for these rounds and the first stitch of every round so that I don't get confused and I can just keep going around and around and count my rows when I'm done. So you're going to do 6 rounds of just single crochets. This will be rounds 5 through 10. For round 11, we are going to add the feet. So we have 10 rows. And now we are going to make 8 single crochets. Now on your 8th stitch, you're not going to finish the single crochet. You're going to leave it open like this, and then you're going to add your orange. This is our color change for our bobble stitch. So add the orange, and then in your next stitch, we're going to do a 4 double crochet bobble stitch. On your 4th double crochet, now we are not going to finish with the orange. We're going to add the yellow to change back to yellow for the stitches in between the feet. Then make 5 single crochet. On your 5th stitch, don't complete the stitch, and change back over to orange for the 2nd foot. Again, don't finish the bobble all the way. We're going to switch to yellow for the remainder of this round. And now we're going to do the last 9 single crochets of round 11. Before we start round 12, I usually go ahead and tie my tails on the inside. You don't want to tie them too tight because it'll pull your stitches too taut, and then you'll see too much on the outside of the knot. So I just tie them loosely and then stuff the tails on the inside. For round 12, we're going to do a decrease round. So we're going to make 2 single crochet and then a decrease. And you'll do this a total of 6 times to go down to 18 stitches. At the end of round 12, we're going to go ahead and add our safety eyes. I like to center them with the feet, and I put them in about 5 stitches apart, but depending on your tension, just make sure that the feet are in line with the eyes. Now that our eyes are in, we're going to go ahead and stuff the inside. I usually separate my stuffing. If you fluff it out and spread it out, it stays a little softer and not so lumpy. So go ahead and stuff it as much as you can. We'll finish stuffing after the last round. So for round 13, you're going to do 9 decreases, which will then give you 9 single crochet. Go ahead and trim your yarn, and then we're going to put the yarn tail into a yarn needle. Go ahead and finish stuffing any extra space inside. So you want it to be pretty firm, so add as much stuffing in there as you can get without separating any of your stitches. Using your yarn needle, we're going to go ahead and cinch up the bottom. I go ahead and go in, I use the outside the front loops only, and then I go back and forth. Instead of going in through the front each time, I go in through the back and in through the front, alternating. It seems to seam up better that way. Once I pull it taut, it just doesn't give me as much tension, and there's less risk of my yarn tail breaking off. Go ahead and tuck the tail in. If you take your tail and you go up through some of the stitches and go wrap it around a stitch, it blends right on in. Using a piece of your orange yarn, we're going to go ahead and sew on the beak, starting from the back. I go in just a stitch next to the eye, and my beak is usually about 4 stitches apart. You're just going to wrap it around a few times until you have as thick as you want it. You can make it as thin or as thick as you want your beak to be. Once you have it the way you want it, just weave your tail back out through the same hole where you started, and then you're just going to tie it in a knot and trim it and stuff that knot back into the body. Now let's make the swing. Starting with a slip knot with your brown yarn, you're going to go ahead and chain 10. Then in the third chain from the hook, you're going to make a double crochet. And then continue on down the chain with double crochets in each chain for a total of 8 double crochet. At the end of the first row, you're going to chain 2 and then turn. Then make 1 double crochet in each stitch for a total of 8 double crochet. Then you're going to chain 2 and turn once more, and go ahead and make 1 double crochet in each stitch again for a total of 8 double crochet. At the end of the third row, you're going to go ahead and chain 2 and then slip stitch into that first chain. Go ahead and fasten off and trim your yarn. Now we're going to add the swing straps. So go ahead and start with the slip knot and attach your yarn into the middle of the short side of the rectangle. Now make 25 chain. Trim your yarn and then just pull it through that last chain to fasten it off. Now we're just going to repeat the same thing for the other side. Now I weave in my tails, so I'm going to weave in the 2 tails that are by themselves. Now for the 2 tails that are over here, I weave them into the center, and then I'm going to use them to secure the swing to the bottom of the duck. Now we're just going to take each tail and we're going to put it through a stitch on the bottom of the duck and back down through the swing. I'll tie these in a knot and then I'll weave them back out through the duck and tie them in another knot and then trim the tails and stuff that knot back into the body. Last but not least, we're going to make the little arms that are going to hold on to the swing straps. So I usually just do this one stitch apart. So you go in through the back and then wrap it around 3 or 4 times until you have the arms as thick as you want them. Just make sure that both sides are evenly lined up with the eyes. So I go about 3 stitches away from the eye. That's where I start the arm. So I'm going to take that same tail and go all the way to the other side, 3 stitches away from the other eye. So count 1, 2, 3, and then we're just going to poke it through that stitch. It works better if you have a longer needle. I need to get a longer needle. I only have this short one, so it's a little difficult, but pull it through, and then you're going to go ahead and don't make it too tight or else it squeezes and makes the arm a little smaller. So put the second strap through, and then you're just going to wrap it around like we did the other side. Just make sure that you do the same amount of times on both sides. Once I have the second arm done, I take the tail and go back out through the same stitch that the first end went through, and then I will secure it by tying it in a knot and trim the tails and stuff that into the back. Now just take your swing straps, and at the tail, you're going to just go ahead and knot the ends together. So I tie them once and make sure that the knot lines up right at the beginning of the chain. So you tie it once, and then I'll tie it a second time to secure the knot. Then I just trim the ends. Now this yarn does tend to shed and it comes apart, so I pull a little bit of the fluff off the ends. And you can either use hot glue on the ends, or I just use a lighter. I just singe the end, it kind of melts it, and I pat it down. Do not do this if you are not an adult. And now it's finished. A cute little swinging duck. You can hang it from your car mirror, you know, a lamp, or anywhere in your house. But I just think it's so cute. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and subscribe if you would like to be notified for any future tutorials.